On today's show, the LA Clippers 2025-26 schedule is out. Is there anything else to be said? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, been a Clipper fan for 20 years, been covering the team for 5 on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, and 3 right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell on the road to 8,000 subscribers, and you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Clipper Nation, it's always a special time when we get to talk about a schedule release episode, and we're going to be talking about my initial takeaways, the privilege of Intuit Dome that makes this a much more favorable schedule, in my opinion, than previous years, and the busy month of March that will, I don't want to say make or break us, but will be the biggest test for this team this upcoming season. So first things first, the 2025-26 season is out, and let me just say this. The NBA schedule release is not like the NFL schedule release. It's not like, oh, we're not going to play some teams. No, of course you're going to play some teams 4 times in the West and some teams 3 times, but at the end of the day, the schedule is the schedule. It's an 82-game schedule. It's a grueling grind, and there are no excuses when you have expectations to do whatever you need to do. If you want to make the playoffs, you want to make the play-in, if you want to make, be a championship contender, there are no excuses. The schedule is the schedule. Some might be a little bit tougher than others based on how many back-to-backs you have, based on when you play teams and how many 5 and 7s you have and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's the NBA, and the schedule is going to be tough. You're going to play every team. You're going to play all the Eastern Conference teams twice. The schedule is the schedule. It doesn't really matter. It's just out when we get to see some certain dates. And so the first thing I look at, like anyone else, actually, no, some people might say, I look at the amount of back-to-backs. I look at the amount of early morning games. We'll talk about that in the second segment more. But what I look at, the first game. I'm a very take it day by day kind of guy. Take it week by week in my life. I oftentimes don't plan ahead enough, and that could be a detriment, but I'm just you're never guaranteed the next day in your life kind of guy. So, I'm always, when it comes to sports, one game at a time. I used to do this thing back in like 2016, 17, where it was probably the last season I did this as a Clipper fan, where I looked at like the month and I'd be like, we got to go have this record in this month. But then a guy gets hurt and then all your predictions go out the window. So I'm just looking at one game at a time. And our opening game, the first 2 games are, catered. And I mean catered to the guy that you're listening to right now. My 2 least favorite teams in the league. The Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns. Or as I like to call them, the Utah Trash and the Phoenix Buns. Although I don't know if I can say that on Locked On, but I just said it, so who cares? My initial takeaway is, we have a pretty favorable schedule the first 10 games. And the last time I said that? 2022-23. And you know what we did? Fumble and show unseriousness from day one, and it ended up being what I think was the most disappointing season in Clipper history, and it was my first season as host of this show. These first 10 games, I'm just going to rattle them off for you real quick. At Utah is the opener. There is no doubt in my mind that we should win that game. Utah is never an easy place to go. Never. But they are a rebuilding team. Is it going to be an easy game? No, it's never easy when you play at Utah, and especially a home opener. Every team's got that optimistic life that, they can do something this season. Maybe, the Utah guys are going to want to make the play-in this season. No, we got to go in there and get a win and stamp our authority that, we were given a team in the first game of our season that's worse than us significantly, doesn't have anywhere near the expectations that we have. Go out there and smash them. That's got to be the mentality. And it's got to be what happens. And then for the second consecutive year, our home opener is going to be against the Phoenix Suns. Now, of course, a very different Phoenix Suns team. No Bradley Beal, who's going to be on our side this time. No Kevin Durant. So it's going to be Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green and company. There's no doubt in my mind that with a rocking Intuit Dome crowd in the second season at the arena, first game, we got to beat them up. There's obviously, as I just mentioned, every home opener is special for a fan base. This being our second season in Intuit Dome, everybody has their routines now. I have my routines now. We're all adjusted to the stadium. Of course, the excitement won't be like last year's opening game. I mean, what can compare to opening up a new stadium? But you better believe Clipper Nation's going to be ready. And we got to win that game. And Phoenix last year swept us in the regular season, and that really doesn't sit well with me. But we got to make a statement this season with them, particularly with them. Show some pride in the fact that they are the only team that's beaten us 3 times in the playoffs in our history. Let's beat them up. Let's smack them. So that should be 2-0. Then we got the Blazers at Intuit Dome. We had a blip against them this past season at home. But we should beat them too. They're going to be an underrated team, bringing in Drew Holiday. They got some young guys, get defensive-minded. But we're better than them, clearly better than them. We should win that game. At Golden State, that will be more difficult. And by the way, there are some 8 o'clock games this season. The ones that fall on national TV on NBC and, NBC Peacock, both, available on both networks for the same game. Game's going to be starting that later than I've ever remembered. The latest game time is 7:30 local time since I've been a kid. We're going to have some 8 o'clock starts this season local, which obviously I don't mind because I'm a night owl. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely won't be late to games. You better believe it. But for some people with kids, you know what I mean, and have early morning jobs, that's going to be a little difficult. But hey, it is what it is. Like, I'm not complaining. You know what I'm saying? I'm the type of guy that if I have to show up to a Dodger playoff game at 6 o'clock and sit on the 10 freeway, it's like, dude, forget these East Coast guys. Like, I want West Coast privilege. And we're getting that for once. So that's pretty cool. But I know some people might not like that. At Golden State is our toughest game of the first 10. That's game number 4. And then we've got a 3-game homestand. Actually, no, I stand corrected there. We have New Orleans at Intuit. That's not going to be easy, but I think we should beat them. Although we have struggled with the Pelicans in past years. That should be, Jordan Poole, Zion, if Zion's healthy. But I think we should beat them. And then you've got the Miami Heat at Intuit. We should definitely beat them. They're not very good anymore. Although Norman Powell, that's going to be Norman Powell's return right there. November 3rd. That comes very quick. So he should be getting a rousing ovation, I believe. I'll give him one. The swell will give him one. The wall will be on their feet for Norm. But we should beat them. And then the Thunder, that's going to be our toughest game. November 4th. At 8 o'clock on NBC and Peacock, the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. That is game number 7. And then Phoenix, a home against them that we're playing. And that's going to be, the fact that we're playing Phoenix 3 times in the first 9 games is actually a little absurd. But you know what? We got to beat them all 3 times. That's what I believe. I think we should beat them all 3 times. Now, of course, we might slip up one of those games, but there should be a goal. And I know the franchise and the team, I don't know. Who knows if they're thinking like this? Because I don't know if they take pride in like these individual matchups, and rivalries are kind of extinct in today's NBA to some degree. But as a Clipper fan, I wish the players could find out how much we hate the Suns. Like how much they've caused pain into our franchise. 3 times they've beaten us in the playoffs. They're the only team that's ever done that. Houston's beaten us twice. Utah's beaten us twice. But the Suns have beaten us 3 times. I want them to get killed in these games. We're playing the Suns 3 times in the first 9 games. That's insane. And then the Atlanta Hawks, we're going to be much improved this year, and that's also coming into it. So when you put that together, we only have 3 away games in the first, 3 away games in the first 10, 7 home games. We have to hit the ground running. And that will set the tone for us to potentially have, a 50. I haven't made a record prediction episode, and I'm going to do that this week probably. But we got to obviously surpass our win total from last season. That's got to be the goal. So we're talking 51 or more wins, maybe even 54. I think the magic number to get a top 3 seed will be 53 wins at least. So to get 53 plus wins, I think we got to start and hit the ground running and take advantage of this favorable schedule. So my biggest takeaway, we have a favorable schedule. Our first 2 games are coming at Utah and at home against the Suns. We got to beat them both. If I had to make a record prediction for those first 10 games, let's say nobody's injured, I say Utah win, Phoenix win, Portland win. Let's just say we lose at Golden State. Then New Orleans win, Miami win, So that gives us a record right there of 5-1. Then let's say we lose to the Thunder, 5-2. We beat Phoenix twice, 6-2, 7-2, and then beat Atlanta, 8-2. Can we start the season 8-2? That should be a goal. If we can do that, I'll feel really good about, what we can do in terms of winning 50-plus games again and winning 51 games at least. Again, I should say 53 because I just said that. But so my initial reaction, the opening 10 games, it's set up for us to start the season flying. But coming up, going to be talking about the back-to-backs, the matinee games, and the privilege that we're starting to receive by having our own arena. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. And here's the thing about FanDuel. They already have put the odds out for games this season. Of course, the opening night ring ceremony game, Rockets at Thunder. The Thunder are -6.5 for that. As far as our game against the Utah Jazz, I actually don't see that. But for the finals, the Clippers, the odds for the Clippers winning the championship are not that high. They've listed 8 teams above us when it comes to winning the championship. We're at plus 1,800, but we're tied with the Timberwolves for the 8th best odds. And then when it comes to the NFL, which that season is right on the cusp of beginning, for just 24 hours, by the way, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. And as far as divisions, right now, the favorite for the AFC West is obviously the Kansas City Chiefs at -110. The NFC West, right now, the Niners, are plus 150. My Rams are plus 220. So if you want to go check out all the odds and place your bets, head over to FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, so the schedule is officially out. The LA Clippers 82-game schedule officially out. And I'll tell you, I have obviously opening night circled on my calendar. I've got the Norman Powell return on November 3rd scheduled on my calendar. Another game I have scheduled on my calendar, December 23rd against the Rockets. I got that one scheduled on my calendar. And those of you that follow me on Twitter know exactly why. That's going to be a reckless game for me. I'm going to be in row 1 of the swell, I can promise you that. But another game that I think is a big one to circle on the calendar for me, Sunday, January 25th, the Brooklyn Nets are coming to town. You might be thinking, what? It's the return of Terrence Mann. I think that's a big game for our fan base personally, to give him the ovation that he deserves. But now for the important questions. Darian, how many back-to-backs do we have? Well, you'll be happy to know, Clipper Nation, that we have less than last season, and plenty of teams have more than we do. Last season, we had 17 back-to-backs. 17. And you want me to tell you a very interesting statistic? We went 11-6 on back-to-backs last season. We were also 11-6 when we had at least 2 days off. The same record, that's coming from Law Murray, our good friend from The Athletic. The same record, he said we went 11-6 last season when we had at least 2 days off, but that's the same record we had when we had 0 days off. So we were 11-6 last season on back-to-backs. And the only reason why this is very important is because Kawhi Leonard's probably not going to play one of those 2 games in a back-to-back. So let's just say he plays, and this is not going to happen, but let's just say he plays every single game besides one of those back-to-backs. That's 67 games. Then he would be eligible for awards. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's good to know that we only have 15. It's also good to know that we did so well in them last season, but only having 15 relative to, 17 last season, that's really good. That's really good. And then you'll be happy to know that we will not have a matinee game at home in the regular season at all. No afternoon early games at Intuit all season. And you want to know something funny? In the playoffs, what games do we have in the afternoon? Game 1 against the Nuggets, we lost. Game 4 at home, we lost. And then, of course, even though it wasn't like super early, Game 7, we lost. So in the playoffs, we didn't do well with them. But again, these are excuses. Like, in terms of the early morning, like, nah, you're a professional athlete. You got to be ready to go. You know what I'm saying? No matter what time the game is. So, but the reason, the takeaway here is a lot of this is Intuit Dome privilege. The fact that we have our own schedule, we're not third class citizens anymore. We don't have to get the early morning games so that we can clean up the arena for the Lakers to play at 6:30 on a Sunday night. That's gone, long gone. Also, we only have one game, I believe, where the Rams are playing on the same weekend, and then I think either one with the Chargers or none with the Chargers. Money Mona posted that. But this schedule is looking good in terms of the start to the schedule, the lack of back-to-backs, the lack of matinee games. I mean, it's really favorable. And then another thing I really like is we have, let's see, what was it? By the way, the NBA Cup can get a little dicey. Remember last season we played Denver in extra time, and that ended up costing us the tiebreaker. So that can always get a little tricky because you don't know who you're playing and what extra games you're going to be given. So, but yeah, we played 3 games in Denver last season. That was very unfortunate because we ended up losing the season series 2-3. But I love by the way, back-to-back seasons of no afternoon starts at home. So last season we didn't have any. And then away from home before the All-Star break with the All-Star weekend at Intuit Dome, and then no Grammy trip. But the Lakers, on the other hand, have 8 straight games on the road at one point of the season. Remember, they are not necessarily the first priority in the arena. The LA Kings play there. And I'm a fan of the Kings as well. And then how about this statistic? All the teams that are coming to play the Lakers and the Clippers, you know how like the East Coast teams come to LA and they'll play both of us? The Lakers are only getting them one time after we play them. We're getting a team 6 times after they play them. How about like in terms of a back-to-back? It's beautiful. 6 times. So the Lakers will be tiring them out the first night and then we play them. We're getting privilege for once. Intuit Dome privilege. Shout out Steve Ballmer, the GOAT. I mean, it's an amazing feeling. So, I mean, we have everything in terms of the depth, the team, the schedule that we've been given, everything in our power to have a great regular season record. And everyone knows what I always say about a top 3 seed. While I don't think that we can win the championship this year, to say that we're not a contender at all would be a little disingenuous just given how good our roster is. It's just I have some doubts, and I've done an episode on that. So, but again, my opinion doesn't really matter. Like, you know what I'm saying? The games have to be played. Have I been wrong yet since I've been a host of this show? No. When it comes to us winning a championship. But only one team can win. I'll tell you what will change my tune. Top 3 seed. You know when the last time we were a top 3 seed was? 2020. And we didn't even get to reap the benefits of that because we were the 2 seed. We would have hosted a Game 7 at Staples Center instead of playing in a bubble with no fans. So all I have to say is Intuit Dome privilege. We have a great first 10 games to hit the ground running. 3 games against the Suns in the first 9. Absurd. We need to make a statement. I was trying to say, I hope that the organization can be like, yo, the fans hate the Suns. We got swept by them last season. Let's take it to them. Let's take it to them. I just don't know if they care about the historical aspect of that stuff. There's no way that does Ty Lue even know about the Rajah Bell shot? Like, do these guys even care about that stuff? Do they care about in 2021 that they knocked us out of our only conference finals appearance in history? They probably don't, but they should. They should be caring about these things because they're the Clippers. And when you wear the jersey of an organization in any sport, you are carrying the legacy, good or bad, of what prior teams have done. And that's the facts. A lot of people don't look at it that way, but you should. Because every organization is bigger than you, the individual. It is. Kawhi is not bigger than the organization, and neither is James Harden. And truthfully, neither is Lawrence Frank or Ty Lue or even Steve Ballmer, who's the most important person of all. An organization is a team full of people from the training staff to the people who run, PR, and of course, what I consider not necessarily the most important part, but the life of the party, the fans. And we got some of the most dedicated fans in basketball that keep believing year in, year out that one day this dream of us winning a championship will happen. And while I haven't heard one Clipper fan, not one, say we're going to win it this year, I think we all know that we have a chance to do some really, really impressive and fun things this season, even though we have a very old team, the oldest in NBA history. Hey, but we've got good oldies. You know what I'm saying? But coming up, going to speak about nationally televised game number and the toughest stretch of our season. All right, talking about the LA Clippers schedule release episode, always a special time. We get to talk about the schedule being released. You know, there's so much anticipation. And you know what? The month of March is going to be tough for us. We have 18 games in March, including 2 sets of 5 and 7. The last time we played that many games in 1 month was March 2017, and you know who we had during that season. CP3. Now, as far as the games in March, by the way, the longest road trip we have is in November, 7 games at Dallas, at Boston, at Philly, at Orlando, at Charlotte, at Cleveland, and then coming back to play the Lakers at Staples Center. That is a very tough stretch. That's a very tough stretch. There are like no easy games outside of Charlotte. You know, Philly's such a wild card because you don't know who's going to be healthy, but you know, at Dallas, at Boston, of course, though, at Boston doesn't look the same as it has the past couple of years because no Jason Tatum. But, you know, Orlando, Cleveland, Lakers, like those are no pushovers. Then we have 2 5-game homestands as well. We have 5 East Coast road trips, but some of those are like 2-game trips. So just some, you know, fun facts about our schedule. But yes, the month of March, 18 games, that is going to be a lot. Now, mind you, the Detroit Pistons are the other team that have 18 games in March, but they have a higher strength of schedule because they have more road games and fewer rest advantages. But these are the teams that we're playing in March. Let me just read it off. We've got New Orleans, and this is in order. New Orleans at Golden State, home against Indiana, at San Antonio, at Memphis, home against the Knicks, home against the Wolves, home against the Bulls, home against the Kings, and home against the Spurs. So there's one of our 5-game homestands right there. And then we have at New Orleans back-to-back nights. So we're playing the New Orleans Pelicans in Smoothie King on the 18th and the 19th of March. And then we play the Mavericks at American Airlines Center. And then we come back home to play Milwaukee and Toronto before playing at Indiana and at Milwaukee. And then we come home on the March 31st to play the Blazers at home. So again, there's a lot of winnable games there. It's just a very hectic run of games. So I think that month will be big. But honestly, like that wasn't very many tough teams, if I'm being honest. I'm looking at February. That month is going to be harder in terms of strength of schedule. At Phoenix, that's the other time we play Phoenix. And then we have Philly and Cleveland. That's at Intuit, but those aren't easy games. And then at Sacramento, at Minnesota, and then 2 games in a row at Houston back-to-back. That is going to be difficult. And then we come home to play Denver, and then the Lakers at Staples, and then Orlando, Minnesota to end the month at Intuit. So I think February is going to be the toughest month in terms of like the teams we're playing. That will not be easy. So February and March are going to be very big for us in terms of our season and the record that we end up getting. But I think you have to, given that we know that February might be the hardest month in terms of team difficulty, and then March is going to be the hardest month in terms of the, you know, amount of games. We got to hit the ground running in these first 10 games, 8-2. I'm telling you, we need to go 8-2 at the minimum, 7-3. By the way, I just wanted to give a shout out to Amir Coffey, a training camp deal for the Milwaukee Bucks. I hope he makes the roster because, you know, he's a very solid player and it's unfortunate it didn't really work out for him here, but he gave us some really solid years and, you know, was a class act. Got the chance to meet him at a, you know, little post game event one time and he was super nice and cool. So shout out to the Brewmaster. I'm definitely going to miss Brian Siemens' coffee puns. Maybe about time we get Brian Seaman back on the show. I saw he was doing a show with Adam the other day. Maybe we'll get him in September. Been thinking about it. But yeah, we should tap in with Brian again. Saw him at the draft party. Such a great guy, of course. And by the way, if you're wondering, have you tried to get Ralph Lawler on the show? I have. I never met Ralph Lawler. It's a dream of mine to meet Ralph. I DM'd him on the Locked On Clippers account because he follows it, but he's never seen my DM. So I don't know. I hope to one day get to meet Ralph Lawler, like even if it means online. So then the final thing I'm going to talk about is the amount of nationally televised games. We have 21 nationally televised games, 7 on NBC. Remember, I'm really interested to see their coverage, NBA back on NBC. I'm definitely going to miss TNT. I know a lot of people don't agree, but those are my childhood guys, like Charles, Ernie, and Kenny. I know we're going to see them on ESPN a little bit, but I don't know if it's ever going to be the same. They just taught me so much about the game over the years and, the history of the game. But 7 on NBC, 7 on ESPN, no ABC games. We have 3 on Peacock and 4 on Amazon Prime. So many different places to find games. I feel like it's a little complicated than just the old-fashioned ESPN, TNT, and then you've got NBA TV. And of course, ABC is like a branch of ESPN, or like they're partnered up, whatever. But 21 nationally televised games, that's better than last year. It's not bad. So we'll take that. Of course, the Lakers and the Warriors. And I think this year, the funny part was the Thunder didn't get many last year, and they were a championship contender. Guarantee you that won't be the case this year. But, Houston's going to get a ton with the addition of Kevin Durant. The Nuggets going to get a good amount. We have more than the Suns, more than the Kings, more than the Blazers, Grizzlies, Jazz, and Pelicans. I'm honestly surprised at the amount of games or lack of games that the Grizzlies have, given that Ja Morant is a very exciting player, especially one that kids like. But he's been so in and out of the lineup. I feel like, the NBA doesn't even know if he's going to play or not. So it's just tough. But Lakers, Thunder, and Warriors being the top 3, that's, a no-brainer. You know that's going to happen. And then Denver, Houston, Minnesota. Dallas having more than us without Kyrie Irving's a little weird, but they have Cooper Flag, so I kind of get it. San Antonio having more than us. Actually, no, they have the same amount, but I'm looking at Lon Murray's post, and he didn't include Peacock and Prime. So San Antonio having Wemby, of course they're going to have more than us. Because the thing about the Clippers is you just don't know if Kawhi is going to play a lot of nights. So the first nationally televised game we have is at Golden State. I think it's honestly a disgrace that the opening game against the Suns, that's literally going to be Chris Paul's first home game as a Clipper, is not going to be nationally televised. But whatever, I guess CP3 is not, a big deal to people anymore. But it's going to be so electric. Like, there's NBA's sleeping on that. Like, the best player in a franchise's history, arguably, is coming back to play at the arena that he essentially helped build. Which I think is special. So NBA missed, fully dropped the ball on that one. But anyway, you heard it here first. We got an easy schedule relatively to start this season, and we got to hit the ground running because February and March are not going to be easy. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more NBA and LA Clipper and LA sports content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you continue to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't, and get us to 8,000 subscribers before opening night against Utah. Please, that would be a big goal. We have a lot of Locked On channels to pass up. Where right now, I think we're ranked like 20th or 21st in terms of all the Locked On NBA channel subscriber counts. And I'm trying to move up because I'm trying to tell everybody and show everybody that Clipper Nation is the most loyal and dedicated fan base in the league, because they all say, we don't have any fans. Let's show them we do. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.